Mark Cox Show. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/The Mark Cox Show.
There is evidence of collusion, both on the classified and unclassified side, and my hope is that the world will soon see it. And also, Anderson, I want to be clear that evidence is a kind of a collection of documents and testimony and different witness accounts, and it has to be tested, it has to be developed, and it's much different than guilt. So to say you've seen evidence of collusion is also different than saying that somebody is guilty of collusion. It takes time to go from taking evidence to a guilt phase in a trial, or for a country to review a House Intelligence Committee's report and to make their own determinations.
Do you feel like you've just been twisted into a pretzel to try to get to a point? This Congressman Swalwell out of California. There's evidence of collusion, he comes out and says yesterday after hearing this hearing where there was no evidence presented whatsoever of collusion. Did Flynn maybe have contact with Russians at some point? Yeah, probably. Did this Carter Page end up because he's a little bit of a numbnuts? I mean, he really you listen to the guy. Even the Russians said that in their dossier on him. And he goes over and meets with somebody, gives a speech. He has no idea the people he's talking to are Russian agents. So it's inconsequential. There's no evidence that either of these two people came back and tried to influence the Trump administration in any way or leverage anything in the favor of Russia, because look at the situation we're in with Russia right now. Yep. No evidence, but the Democrats keep hammering away at this. Hillary Clinton, did you see her tweet yesterday after the French results? Right. Trying to suggest that the Russians had dabbled in the French election, too. But she's not allowed to say that in her little snarky comment. Give me a break.
You've told me many times off air that I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
I have never said that to you, Chris Arps. You stop that.
I would never. It doesn't make any sense to me. If the Russians have all this information and they're going to release it or leak it during the campaign, why does the Trump campaign need to coordinate with them when to release it? And why would they be stupid enough to coordinate with them, leaving some type of paper trail? It just doesn't make sense to me. Why do you need to collude with them?
It's like Agent 99. Remember Agent 99, right?
Exactly.
You're going to have somebody in there that's going to trip that up. So you wouldn't want to do that, even if that's what you're planning.
You're dating us because there's a whole bunch of millennials have no idea what you're talking about.
I know. I hate to do that to myself, but I mean, people are finding out a lot about me today. They had no idea that I used to work for Senator Onder, or that I had a drinking problem. Yeah. So, but I'm just teasing. If you're just tuning in, let me put this in perspective. When Senator Onder was trying to explain this bill that's passed the Missouri legislature and is about to be signed by the governor dealing with the discrimination, he was trying to give an example of how it might impact the law. Yeah. So that he referred to the fact that if I was his employee, and 99% of the reason he fired me is because I came to work drunk all the time and then didn't show up the other half of the time, but 1% is that I thought he was discriminating against me, that 1% wouldn't be enough of a standard for me to sue him for discrimination.
What about the argument that some could make, and are probably are making, that we don't have a system in place where if you file a frivolous lawsuit, you have to pay for it? So since we don't have that in place, isn't it someone's constitutional right to be able to sue if they feel they've been aggrieved in some way?
I don't know that it stops you from suing. I just think that it changes the standard for proving that you were discriminated against in some form, right? So if whether it's a contributing factor or a determining factor in the reason you were dismissed, that's what it seems to do, and I'm sure people will have varying degrees of.
It just seems like in a situation like that's very subjective, the only way that you're really going to get to the bottom of it is with a trial.
Right.
Where you hear both sides and you weigh it out and let's see the truth.
But this law is not going to stop that. It's just that when the jury is charged with, at the end of the trial, when the jury is charged with, the judge has to make the decision of guilt or innocence, the standard against which they have to measure that is going to be this new law instead of the way it was before.
Okay. I was understanding they will be able to stop them from.
No. They're not going to stop anybody from suing anybody. It won't. But you're going to have a greater burden of proof other than
To
just the
win the
fact
case,
to
not
win the
just to bring
case.
it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. That's where I was getting.
Right.
That's where I was getting confused.
I don't know. So supposedly the governor's going to sign that, and like the Missouri Times, is that the one down in Jeff City?
Yes.
They've got a big article on it today on the front page of their paper. If you want to go out and read that, if you want more information on it, the News Tribune down in Jeff City. Missouri set to make it tougher to prove work discrimination. So that's the angle they're taking, just like the media. We didn't get to talk about that much, but that montage I played with the breathless anticipation of the media on the mind-blowing testimony of Susan Yates yesterday. Oh, my goodness. She went out and she told them that she warned them, and the president warned them, but they did it anyway. But nothing happened.
To go back just a second to this bill that we were just talking about,
right.
It almost reminds me of, I had an example in my mind. Never mind. I hate when that happens. Never mind.
Came in what's age,
Yeah, I know. But
you're younger than me, so we shouldn't be complaining about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to drive me nuts now.
That's okay.
I'll call you this afternoon.
Yeah, you'll call me. You'll text me later. Oh, now I know what I was talking about. That does not make for good radio,
Oh, here's what it is. The other day, Donald Trump, there's been this big thing that he was putting all this money into historically black colleges, and that was a big thing in the Oval Office and all that.
Right.
Well, he put out something yesterday, signed something Monday, and Friday, and put out a signing statement saying that giving this money to the HBCUs may be unconstitutional. And it's like, why? And it's almost kind of the way with this bill. Why are, Republicans already have the reputation of being racist and discriminatory and all that. Why are we sponsoring or putting out a bill like this?
Well, I mean, I didn't sponsor the bill, but my suspicion is that traditionally Republicans believe that companies need to be able to operate with a reasonable amount of belief that they're not going to get their pantsuit off every time they turn around for frivolous actions. And if this reduces any of the frivolous lawsuits that they face, like Bill O'Reilly, for example, you can bet after the first person settled with him for a couple $1 million, the next one's lined up. She probably told all of her friends.
But most of the time when you have legislation, it's because this has been a recurring problem over and over and over.
And I think
we need to address this.
I think that that's probably the case with this bill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there are people who believe that that's been going on for too long.
Believe and it's having a detrimental effect is two different things.
They believe it's judicial overreach that discouraged businesses from coming to the states. And Missouri business groups such as the Chamber of Commerce said it would cut down on frivolous lawsuits.
So is this part of the general overall tort reform?
No, well, I'm guessing it was probably on their list somewhere.
Okay.
So,
just curious.
Let me see here. So lawmakers haven't. So this is dated. This story is dated today, and it says that the bill supporters of the bill urge lawmakers not to pass any changes. Lawmakers have till Friday to pass the legislation and send it to the governor. So apparently, it hasn't passed the House yet. It's in the House. Yeah. So it's already passed the Senate.
Like I said, usually when legislation like this happens, there's examples, and they'll say this is why we need this because this particular case happened. Such and such here. But we don't have that. It's just
we might. We'd probably have to talk to Romine, who sponsored the legislation, and see what that's all about. Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Have a great day, and we're going to get to more when we come back after the top of the hour. We're